we are going to start off with our Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse review.
Yeah, because that is, I think it's really on our minds. Yeah.
I'll just get my thoughts out.
Mm-hmm.
Loved it.
Yeah.
I think maybe more than the first one, perhaps.
Yeah, and I will say we're gonna start off with like some non-spoiler stuff and then get into spoilers.
Yeah.
But yeah, I agree. I think I really, really like it. I don't like it more than the first one. Even after I had some time to sit with it.
I'm curious as to. I think I got that impression when I saw you after the movie.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, non-spoiler things. I think much more beautiful than the first one.
Yeah.
And the art styles that they managed to juggle were just extremely impressive.
I think that's it. It's like they were able to push the limits so hard because they had 5 years since the last one.
Yeah, I guess it had been 5 years.
Right. And it was a 2.5 hour movie pretty much. So like longest animated film ever, I think, is what this one is.
Really?
I think so.
It did feel long.
Did it?
Yeah, because not much of a spoiler, but when it kicks off and it's just the Gwen Stacy like prelude.
Yeah.
I was like it did feel like one of those things
that was
before the title, like shows the logo. But I was like, wow, this is like a good 15-20 minute.
I thought it was like 20 minutes at least.
Sequence.
Right.
Like, and I was like, this is going to be a long one, isn't it? And it was.
That's funny. It didn't feel long to me. And I will say, I guess I don't know if you want to go into spoilers now, or keep going.
Yeah, because
what I would say is a little spoilery, but I'll come back to that. I think some non-spoiler stuff I can say. Yeah. I think we kind of hit it. Is the art styles? They were to the max.
But also, I think the believability of all the characters, like even though it's animated, like it really felt like I was watching at times, like in like an actual, in a weird way, considering the subject matter, like a real world, real movie about like a son and his mom and dad, like, and him kind of growing out of their relationship. I was
kind of impressed about how much like non-multiverse stuff there was in this movie.
Yeah,
I wasn't expecting that at all.
Like, yeah, I think for like half the movie, it's pretty much just,
it might be a little like shorter than that,
maybe,
but
a good amount.
I agree,
of it.
and I will say, like, a minor complaint I have is, I feel like we got such a treat with Everything Everywhere All at Once in like a multiverse story, and now whenever like there's these big hyped multiverse stories that are coming out, like Multiverse of Madness and now this, I'm expecting like this amazing travel throughout multiple, not just like 3 or 4 universes, but like a ton of universes. And I feel like we didn't get a lot,
from this movie.
I think we were in pretty much 3 or 4 the entire time.
I guess I get what you're saying,
right?
But there was a
maybe
lot.
Maybe 5.
There was but I think that's what's good about this movie, and also like even though Everything Everywhere All at Once like did go a lot of places, in a lot of ways it was still just the one world at times dealing with
sure.
So I mean, in this respect, it's still kind of the same. But I mean, there was a lot, like Akira levels of detail of like things going on in the background that I can't wait for people to break down sometime. That I think they get to have from all this multiverse stuff that that we get to see all of it. So maybe we're spoiled a little bit, but I think it's pretty incredible what we got to see.
Yeah. I think it was still a great story, and it almost rivals the first one for me. So I'm not saying it's like a lot worse than the first. I just think, maybe I was just expecting too much out of a multiverse story. I don't know. Maybe.
Would you feel that way about The Flash coming up?
I feel like my expectations for that one are weirdly like low in a sense where they really only showed us like 2 different worlds, and so I'm not expecting like a crazy adventure.
Here's the thing: we got Gwen's world, we got normal
Miles,
Earth,
right?
Miles world. We got the
Wait, is this a spoiler?
I don't know. Okay. We'll go into spoilers.
Sure.
I don't care.
Yeah.
We got the kind of like Indian Peter's
Spider-Man India
world. Whichever one that
2099
Miguel's world.
Yep.
And
I think the last one is the one that Miles went to accidentally.
Sure.
Yeah.
So I mean that's 4.
It's 5.
4 or 5.
Yeah.
With different worlds.
No, you're not wrong. I guess I'm also wanting to like experience like the craziest of Spider-Man and their worlds too. And we didn't get anything like super crazy. We got like a in the future New York called Nueva York.
Right.
But the others were just, it was India and the others were all just normal New York pretty much.
Sure. I guess I guess like I don't need it to be crazy. I just want like a really good story, which is exactly what we got. And you also run the risk of having like weird universes. Like does it maybe if it contributes to the story, if you can find a good way, maybe that would maybe satisfy you.
Right.
But like we weren't particularly impressed when we saw Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, and they go to the universe where they're like, "Oh, you walk on red," and it's like, do you want stuff like that? Because I'm not crazy about that.
No, they did it, a lot lamer for sure. But yeah, I mean, I think both can maybe have the fault in that,
But I guess since we can talk spoilers, like what about this movie? It makes you, I don't know, you
like happy or
I guess happy, but also like you're a little bit more like you don't like it as much as the first one.
I mean, I guess I'll go into my positives afterwards, but I think my big thing, and I think it's a bit divided on this, like for a lot of people, but my big thing was the cliffhanger we got, and and I like that first Spider-Verse story so much because it was this light multiverse story, but it was like an origin story wrapped up into it, and it concluded super well. Like there didn't even need to be a sequel to it.
Sure.
And with this one, we pretty much get to like, oh, let's fight the final boss, and then they just cut.
But it's the build, it's the excitement, the anticipation for the next one that's going to be so.
I feel you, and like I think it was you or somebody else like even brought up like Empire, right? Empire Strikes Back.
Oh.
And like after sitting on that more, like to me, the thing with this movie that's a little different than the ending of that is like there was this like big final fight, and then he got to escape, and then it was just like, oh, what's gonna happen next? But with this one, it was like, oh, there was this technically big final fight with the Spider-Man 2099, and then there was like 20 more minutes of movie, and then Gwen was like, yeah, let's get my group together and then go fight. So like if Empire was like that, it would be like, if Luke escaped, got with his friends, and then they planned a whole heist to break out Han, and then they cut off the movie, That's I don't know. Maybe I'm nitpicking, but
I just
don't love the cliffhanger.
I don't think I said the Empire thing.
Okay, somebody else might have. Yeah.
But I get what you're saying from that point of view. I guess I see this more as there were conclusions in this movie, and then there's also massive buildup. Like it reminded me of John Wick 2 going into John Wick 3 a little bit. Like it gave me that kind of vibe, or like a Matrix Reloaded and Matrix Revolution.
That might not be a good comparison.
Okay, I'm not saying that it's like those movies,
right.
But it felt satisfying, and it felt like a great story, and I'm not bothered by it. If anything, I'm just more excited,
Yeah.
Like I guess I guess like, because I was telling you out of the theater that one of the conclusions is almost if you look at it from a Gwen movie, because it's her starting off not really having a band, which also the incredible drum solo intro is great.
It's great. I think that might be my favorite part of the entire movie is her like prelude, which is what you kind of referred to it earlier, where we start with Gwen and she like quits her band and there's like real life stuff between her and her dad's trying to catch like, the Spider-Woman version. And I don't know, it's all so great. And there's this really big fight at the beginning with multiple Spider-Men and with fighting the multiverse vulture.
Oh yeah. God, that was so good. That was
so good. The action was so good in that.
It's so good.
And then you got this heartbreaking ending to that story where, Gwen's father still won't accept Gwen as Spider-Woman, And it's some of the best.
You have the right to remain.
My jaw dropped. I leaned forward and I was like, "Excuse me?"
Yeah, I think our friends next to me were just like, "What?"
What? Yeah. So I think it's just Gwen is done amazingly well in this movie, and I agree. I think if you look at it as it's her movie, and like she has the final scene and the beginning scene. Where she grows throughout the movie.
Yes.
Like, yeah, of course, that works really well.
But even from a Miles point of view of that overarching narrative of not being able to change things, like he's inspired all these other people to be like, it doesn't have to be the way that Miguel wants it. You know what I mean?
Sure.
So there's
so she's changing other people too. Yeah.
Yeah. I guess, I don't know. It was very satisfying for me. I love the majority of the new characters.
Yeah.
I think maybe if I had a complaint would be that some of the characters could be a little bit more, not like Spider-Ham and Spider-Man Noir or Penny Parker were necessarily like super fleshed out.
Right.
But I think that they had a little bit more
introductions
or depth.
Yeah.
Like I liked the Indian Spider-Man.
Yeah.
But like kind of after his thing, there wasn't much going on.
But I will say, like, they gave him a lot of depth. Like, that was a Spider-Man I was very happy about, like, writing-wise, because I feel like he was a full character. Whereas,
he did, yes.
Whereas, like, most of the other Spider-Man, because there were, like, 280 Spider-Man in this movie, were so, like, one note, traits. Ryan complained pretty hard about it. Our friend, that the Ben Reilly 90s Parker was very just super edgy and for comedic relief.
Which I would argue that Spider-Man Noir was also kind of that in the first movie, though maybe he had a little bit more at times.
But here's the thing. They still made Spider-Man Noir cool. Whereas like Ben Reilly wasn't even like that cool. He was just edgelord.
Fair enough.
But I still think he was great. I think he was funny.
I still liked him.
Yeah, me too.
I did want more from Ben Reilly for sure.
Right.
Especially if you're like going to have that Spider-Man. It'd be interesting to explain who Ben Reilly is.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
I feel that.
But yeah, Spider-Woman, she was great.
Yeah. Let's also talk about Spot for a second.
Oh.
Because I think this is a really well done villain. Like I couldn't be much happier with it because he's introduced as a part of the first plot, which is great. And I think
getting
making
a bagel shucked at his head.
Right. Like making him Miles' problem, I think or Miles' consequences from the first movie is doing that for any protagonist in their movie, like for a sequel, I think is always a great idea. And then him growing throughout the movie, realizing his potential and getting like progressively scarier throughout it was great. I couldn't have been happier with that progression. I think I was just a little bummed we kind of stopped seeing him at a certain point. Once he was like, "Hey, I'm gonna go get your dad," it was just like, all right, well, that's it.
But
yeah,
what do we need to see more?
Sure, no, I feel
because he has the ability to jump around all these multiple universes.
Right. Yeah.
He doesn't need to be doing anything. He knows exactly what he's doing.
Now here's the thing,
And that was the overarching
I won't get into that yet, but yeah,
threat,
right,
on top of what Miguel and all of his spider people are getting up to,
yeah,
are trying to stop him from
No, yeah, I mean Miguel's the more serious threat to Miles at this point, so why not focus on that?
They're both pretty serious.
Right, but immediate, Miles has to get through Miguel to get back to his home. That's just it's just what it is, right?
Yeah.
So
Or is Miles first immediate threat himself? Dun dun dun.
Oh yeah. So I guess we'll kind of go into that. Yeah. So the big twist of this movie, which I thought was really well done, was the fact that Miles isn't. He's not like canon himself technically, right?
At least his getting the spider powers.
Right. So he's like the one Spider-Man that technically shouldn't be Spider-Man. And he's
original
the one,
anomaly.
Right. He's right. He's what started it all for Spider-Man, Miguel 2099 is Miles Morales. And it's why he was hesitant to let Gwen in the group. It's probably why he would have been hesitant to let original Peter and Noir and Penny, which is it'd be a little weird that he allowed all of them in that group.
It's kind of weird that it would seem like everybody is in that group except him. He's like the only one.
Well, it's because he's an anomaly. He can't really invite Miguel into the group. If we're fighting anomalies, then he can't be in the group.
I guess technically not every spider person is in the group because that would be assuming that Toby and Andrew are in it. But are they?
I mean, here's the thing. I saw some complaints about the concept of this group, and basically what it is in the movie is that basically there's these multiversal anomalies where certain characters are traveling to different universes on accident, and so they're a group that's fixing it up. And what's interesting, I guess, for people is well, would all these Peter Parkers and Spider-Man really philosophically actually join this group that is so, I guess, rule oriented and what, this person has to die and this person has to die. I question that too, where it's well, I get you're saving multiple universes here, but you're still just allowing certain events to happen because it's for the greater good,
right.
So it's kind of a villainous philosophy there, if you want to call it that. But
which is I think I saw people were well, of course Toby and Andrew and Tom would not be okay with that.
Sure, yeah.
So that's why they're not. But
I'm glad they're not in it, and I think it worked well without any live action Spider-Man in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
And the other thing is well, there's probably an infinite amount of Spider-Man. He probably just handpicked the ones he thought would stick around and do
quite a lot of Spider-Man.
It is. It's probably too much, I would say. I like the idea. I really did of this elite task force that they were talking about at the beginning when they were lying to Gwen,
and then everyone else is part-time.
Right. I think that would have been really cool to have 10 Spider-Man, and then that's your task force.
Sure.
Yeah.
Also great inclusion, Hobie.
Yes, Spider-Punk was great. he was the best animated, absolutely, and he had a lot of depth too.
Oh,
I liked his introduction. I liked, his whole vibe and his face reveal was cool. I didn't expect, that guy to be under the mask, British Spider-Punk.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it was all very cool. Yeah.
You didn't expect him to be British, or you didn't expect him
to be black? Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, I
obviously don't have a problem with.
Yeah. I thought he was fantastic. I love it's so funny, like the things that he's like, I don't believe in consistency, and then
Yeah, him egging on like Miles Morales the whole time was great.
anti-fascist, bro.
Yeah.
I think and then he's so like kind of hypocritical of like being on this elite task force,
which is why he quits. You know,
but it's
it's
just
an instant almost.
Yeah, he's great. His art style, I guess, took 2 to 3 years
alone, just his to make, right?
Yeah, and I mean, when you watch the movie, like
it's intense. Like it's going the whole time. He's on a on screen. So yeah, I get why it took so much time.
It's like almost always a different art style each time, and it's crazy.
It's really good. I love that aspect of like his items being like cut out stuff from a magazine. Like it was so well done. Yeah.
And then also, I think your favorite world that we saw in art style was Gwen's world.
Yeah. I mean, I mentioned that it was probably my favorite part of the movie, and the art style added so much to that. It was artistic and like, I'm sure you noticed, but there, the final scene she had with her dad, where he kind of finally accepted her. Like, it was a lot of watercolor like running down the screen, and yeah, I mean, in each character's like colors change based off of their emotions. It's really well done, and I couldn't be more excited for her, Spider-Woman animated movie that I got wrong last week in theorizing. But yeah, I think that movie's going to be fantastic.
Yeah, that. I am curious to know what story they might go with, but yeah, the fact that we get like a movie of her, I think will be awesome.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you think it would be before Peter, like her Peter, goes bad, or do you think it'll pick up after?
I think it'll pick up after.
Yeah,
and I don't think it'll have like Lord Miller like creating it, because I mean I know it's not Miles Morales, but like they did say today in a quote that like, Beyond the Spider-Verse is their last one. They're like, this is it for Miles Morales because we are tired, And I was like, yeah, I get it. These movies are a lot for anyone to make.
Yeah.
And I mean, and I'll say this too. I don't know how they're going to reach their release date next year, because I don't know if you saw what Haley Steinfeld said.
No.
But she apparently hasn't recorded any dialogue for the next movie.
I think that maybe there's not a whole lot of Gwen.
That would be insane. I couldn't imagine that.
B, voice acting is a lot, but it's not. There's also been multiple times where people for whole movies just came in for 2 to 3 days, and then that was it. So I'm not. Yeah. If they can't reach it, I'd rather them push it back than rush it.
Right.
But I don't think that's, crazy amount of concern, because if they've already said we're going to do Beyond the Spider-Verse this date, and I think that's been put there for a good amount of time. It has. Then they will probably be okay.
If the animation is done and all that people have to do is come in and voice act, maybe that's it. Like maybe, it's very plausible they'll reach this release date.
Yeah.
But if that's not the case, I'm a little concerned, because I think people are going to lose their minds a little bit if they have to wait longer than March for this like insane cliffhanger.
I mean, if they're going to lose their minds, I think so be it. Yeah. I mean, it's a year.
I would rather have quality. I mean, it's like 9 months.
Yeah.
Right now. Yeah. So I'm okay waiting 9 months.
Yeah.
If it's 2 years, I can't say I would love that, but
Do you want to talk about the cliffhanger before we?
Yeah, I guess we never described it. But basically, the after Miles gets or escapes the Nueva York 2099, he mistakenly goes back to his own he mistakenly goes back to the universe that the spider came from, which bit him in the first movie, and he's stuck in that universe now. And Gwen goes to the universe that he's from to save him, but he's not there. So she like confronts his parents and is like, "Hey, I'm gonna save your kid." and then forms this elite task force of Spider-Man that will go and save him in the next movie.
Now, if I was his parents and she said, yo,
I'll go find him.
Don't worry, I'll go find him. And I'm the to-be captain.
Yeah. And here's the thing, they don't know he's Spider-Man yet. He's just Miles.
Yeah.
Which makes it worse to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, why can't he be like, oh, yeah, and I'll go put an APB out on my son immediately.
Right. I mean, I feel like there weren't many questions asked there.
But
yeah. So we're nitpicking a little bit probably, but
yeah. But besides that, I think finding out that him in the universe where he was originally supposed to be becoming the Prowler is pretty dope.
Yeah, I think that's pretty cool. I like that twist that, you know, Miles without being bit would become the Prowler and follow his Aaron, his Uncle Aaron's footsteps. I still agree with one of our friends, Manny, who, and I had a minor gripe about this in the first movie that, Prowler just didn't have any like real motivations. He was just kind of working for Kingpin. And I would love to see that in the third movie, like why Miles became Prowler, why Uncle Aaron, wanted this path.
Probably something to do with his dad dying.
Yeah, that definitely makes sense for Miles. I guess I just want to know Aaron's motivations.
Wasn't it like they were getting up in trouble and then his dad was like trying to, like the whole reason like his dad was like trying to get him to do good stuff and that's why he became a cop and
yeah, but like
he started working for Kingpin or
I guess my thing is like, yeah, sure, you can be like on the wrong side of things, but I don't know. I guess I want some kind of like motivation why he was helping Kingpin out, at least. Like
money?
What was if that's all it is, then sure, fine. I guess that's fine. Yeah, that's probably what it is. Yeah. Well, I mean that's about all I have for the review, I think.
Yeah, I mean I'll say I think I did like it more than the first one. Yeah. So, and that's saying a lot.
That is saying a lot.
So,
because you have that probably like your number 2 spot for Spider-Man movie.
At least
you did before that.
I think I do.
Yeah.
So yeah. Could be. I really liked it.
I might make people mad with this ranking, but out of the 10 Spider-Man movies,
there's 10 Spider-Man?
There's 10 now, which is crazy.
That is crazy.
I would put this at number 5.
Yeah, well, we don't have to get into that. So let's just move on